Welcome to the All Metal Mode podcast with your host, Michael Haer. Tune in every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern with co-host Gypsy Jules, and every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern with Matt Hoffman as we talk to guests, discuss metal detectors, equipment, and everything treasure related. Feel free to join in the discussion in the chat room during the show, and please, if you like what you hear, we'd appreciate you taking a moment, hit that like button, and share the link with your friends. We hope you enjoy the show. The All Metal Mode podcast starts right now.
Hello, everybody. This is Mike Haer, and you're listening to the All Metal Mode podcast with my co-host tonight, Mr. Matt Hoffman. Don't forget, you can find us on Facebook at All Metal Mode, as well as All Metal Mode Podcast UK. All Metal Mode is every Monday and Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and All Metal Mode UK is every Thursday at 8 p.m. GMT time or 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you tell all your metal detecting friends about All Metal Mode. You can listen to the show through Spreaker. You can listen live as it's going on. You can download it. You can come back and listen to it anytime. You can find us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube. We're all over the place, so no excuse to not listen. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Dirt Digest magazine, September issue is out. It's a free online magazine. Check us out at dirtdigestmagazine.com. We're always looking for articles. Every month we do a find submission. If you go on the website, you can find, I think it's the treasure room, and there's a little form. You can attach pictures and give us a brief, couple sentences about the find, or a couple paragraphs, whatever you need. Don't forget Dirty Letters, All Metal Mode. We actually do not send dirty letters. We called it Dirty Letters. Katie Yeary came up with that. Great idea, great name, since we're all diggers. But if you would like to have a pen pal and actually send real mail back and forth, real letters, join us. I got my first letter from Amanda Digaz. That was really cool. Just a fun thing to do back and forth. All that. And then if you are listening live and you want to join us in chat, we would love it. It's really simple to do. There's a bar across the bottom. Click on the bar. It has your pause button, and you'll see a little chat bubble, and you click on that. You do have to sign up. You can do it through Facebook. It takes seconds, and you can join us in chat, where it's usually pretty crazy. If you think the show gets a little off the rails and crazy on the show, you should see what goes on in chat sometimes. So, it's a lot of fun. And so tonight's topic is Mike Haer really a better detectorist than Matt Hoffman? And of course the answer is yes. I mean, this is well known, but that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Since Matt didn't listen in last night, but that's the topic tonight. So I guess, I don't know, I was thinking we would just go around back and forth and explain why I'm better than you, Matt.
Well, you probably only get one round in, because I can't think of more than one thing that you could
I think we'll have
possibly come up with.
I think we'll have to make it a several-part series, to be honest with you.
I mean...
I figured I'm coming to Ohio soon. Let's get to Smack Talk rolling. Let's go ahead and kick off.
Let's do it. And I'm going to tell you straight up why I'm a better detectorist than you, and it's because I've spent way more time hunting trashed out areas.
No, you haven't.
I guarantee.
No, you haven't.
I guarantee it.
I guarantee you
haven't.
haven't.
I don't know.
Dude,
Maybe so.
I cut my teeth on trashy parks and schools, and then I've got a ton of years in the fields. You're like an infant. You're like a little baby. Yeah.
You ever hear of LeBron James?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. A kid was good at
that I'm very
basketball.
that I'm like at that level in metal detecting versus. Yeah, I agree with
No,
that. I
no, no,
agree. I
no.
think that's a
You
great
misunderstood.
analogy. I am at the top of my game, and
All
you're
I'm
like
saying is that
you're still in high
some people are
school.
just naturally skilled, such as myself.
You're still in high school with the kid that's dribbling and hitting himself in the crotches and yeah, yeah. No, I get exactly what you're saying. And I think that's a great analogy. Good job.
Yep. I'm. I wouldn't say I'm the LeBron James of metal detecting, but what I would say is that some people are just good at certain things naturally. That's all.
Mm,
That's all I'm saying.
you're real good at
No.
talking smack. I'll give you that. I will give you that. I mean, hands down, you're probably better at that than I am. But when it comes to metal detecting, I mean, I just don't think we should be trying to fool ourselves. Is all.
I mean, I think we need to get a vote. We're gonna have a serious showdown this year,
I'm
and
down.
real soon when you get back up here, and I mean, we might make this a multi-day showdown. I'm thinking
Hey,
that's
I
what's
wanted
gonna
to
have to
ask
happen.
how's your vagina? I
Mine has
told
got a
I
little
told
sand in it.
I told everybody that's why you were out last night because you broke your vagina. Oh, I got issues. Um, I am looking forward to coming back, and I'm just kidding. I'm not. You know, I use
Hey,
it as a
I
teaching experience. I love to come back
in
and
all.
school you and teach you and everything, and show you metal detecting and how to do it and stuff. And that's
I
my
mean,
goal.
it's
I'm not
okay. That's
trying
your
to.
goal. Just because you can't always reach your goals doesn't mean you shouldn't set your goals high. That's all right.
Well, that's because you're so stubborn you won't listen to me. But I am trying to teach you. I'm trying
Uh,
very hard, and it's just a tough job. I mean, people understand that. We've done really good at proving that you're really stubborn. That is well
I'm a little
established.
stubborn. Well,
No,
that's
I
because
am.
I'm pretty well convinced that my ideas are always better than a lot of other ones. So, not always, sometimes better. So
Right.
therefore, I don't generally listen to Mike Haer. I tune him right out.
I don't blame you. I mean, truth be told, you're probably better doing that. Hey, we were talking though before the show, um, and I wanted to bring up. We were talking about the Simplex, and you'd asked me like when it's coming out. They're saying, and it'll be in England October 1st. It'll be shipped there, and I'm sure we will be soon to follow. There has been some setback or not setbacks. Gone back to the drawing board a little bit, I guess you could say. With from my understanding, people were wanting more different features and stuff, and they said, okay, well, let's do it. So I think that's a good thing, and but excited about it. I'll tell you something, Dan Kowski. Um, I told you he just posted something about it earlier, and really exciting. He was one of the testers, and I'm actually posting the show right now, so give me a second. Um, but I do want to get back to that, and hopefully I can find it. I didn't even think about that. You know how that goes sometimes. You go off off the your homepage, and then you try to find something again, you can't find it. But he's saying he's saying that, let me find it. He's comparing it to the impact. Now, I'm going to be really honest with you, and I think you'll agree with me. I've got the multi-cruiser, the Amphibio. I personally prefer the impact over both of those. I thought the impact was a little more stable. I thought, I don't know. I liked everything about it better. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't use the cruiser that much. The Amphibio, I take that out some days, and me and that machine just jive like nobody's business. And then other days, I want to wrap it around the tree. So I haven't really had enough time with that machine to get to the bottom of what causes me those issues. But I will say, with the impact, I didn't seem to ever have that problem, and I don't have that problem. And that machine, the impact works really well. It's a good machine. I think
I dig it a
worked
lot.
great in a lot of places.
Okay, so I found it, and here I am. So he says the Simplex, by all rights, is $1,000 detector. I think it's the one with the headphones and everything's going to be right around 325, 330, somewhere in there. He says Simplex is a bit deeper than the Impact, primarily due to the 11-inch round DD coil versus 11x7. Well, if you ask me, that's impressive. That's crazy impressive because the Impact is a very deep detector. That is crazy. What else did he say that really stood out? Him comparing it to the Impact, and he's pretty much saying he likes it. I would guess it's working better than the Impact is huge. Because I'll tell you what, I'll take the Impact over most detectors out there. It's a really good detector, and this one, the biggest thing holding the Impact back is it's not waterproof, and that's what everybody wants. We'll see. But
yeah, I look at that machine, Mike, just looking at the photographs and stuff I've seen, and to me, just looking at the design of the machine, and what looks to be a very quality build of the, mechanically, I would find it hard for them to make a machine, do that much work on a machine, and have just subpar, programming and internal working. So I expect it's going to be a pretty decent machine, and I definitely would love to get my hands on one as soon as I absolutely can, and I will buy one. I was looking at the Vanquish, the MindLab Vanquish, and man, I don't know. I'm just not sold after watching some stuff from. I'm assuming it was from the detectable.
Yeah, detectable.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that's where all that footage came from that I saw. But that just, to me, I saw nothing on that looked impressive to me, and I don't know what what type of part of the market they're trying to hit with that. But
let me
man,
tell
that's
you
going to be
what
a tough sell, I think.
Let me tell you what I'm hearing, and I'm not saying this is how I feel, but this is what I'm hearing. First off, a lot of people were mad that they felt like the videos were poking or were kind of rough on Garrett. They were saying the guy in the video was wearing a yellow and black hat. I don't know. I really, they said it looked like a Garrett coil. I watched it a couple times. I didn't necessarily take it that way. I think being yellow and black maybe, and that kind of stuff kind of leans that way. But then people were saying, oh my God, it looks like an A-series detector. And so I kind of feel like that was maybe the wrong thing to do if you're going to make it look similar. and the layout is similar. Okay, the colors are very different and stuff, but I don't know. I think kind of poor taste. I hope that's okay to say. But I mean, in no way am I ready to judge it or.
Oh yeah, by no means. Yeah,
Yeah, by no
neither
means.
myself
I don't
either.
know. George says it's meant to kill the ace. I was never a fan of the ace series. Just never understood why people were buying ace series when you got the Fisher and Technetics. I think up until now, I think Fisher and Technetics have kind of ruled, in my opinion, just my opinion, they ruled the entry level price range in detectors. By far, I think they're much better choice than the A series. That's just my personal opinion. Now the 400, I
Yeah,
think, is
I
kind of a
agree.
little bit different. But when you're talking to 250 and 300 and all that, I think the Fishers are definitely more bang for your buck. With that said, George says it's to compete with that. I mean, and you know what? It might be a heck of a detector. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
Just because you're right, we're going on looks, but it looks like an A series detector to me. Well, that's not very innovative. Um,
Well, but if it's meant to compete with those ace
well,
detectors,
but
then
the simplex is too, and I mean, reading
but
Dankowski's
I think they're
report.
going to lose. I don't know how they're putting a machine out at that cheap of a machine. Just the build of it alone, I feel like they've got to be losing money on that thing. I don't know, man.
Dankowski talks very highly of the simplex, along with somebody said. Andy Sabish. Andy Sabish was over at Detective All and got to use it. Now, I'll be really honest. I'm not a huge fan of his. There's been some things happen in the past, metal detecting and stuff, and things that, don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see, but I've seen some of it with my own eyes. But I trust his opinion on a detector and to some extent. And so George says it has multiple IQ. I mean, I get that, George, but you didn't like the multiple IQ on the Equinox either. I mean, is it still 50 VDI? Because I know that's a problem. You know, that kind of thing. Katie's asking, so when is the Simplex supposed to come out? Asking for a friend. October 1st in the UK, and then probably the United States. It'll follow soon after, within a week or so. I don't know. I think kind of the letdown for me is, and this is too early to even say, but they come out with the Equinox, and whether you like it or not, people are loving it. It's finding great things, and it seemed really innovative with the multiple IQ, like George is talking about. And then, they're talking, there was these incredible videos. The Vanquish videos were really wild. Really hyped it up. And in the background, Simplex is not getting all that much. No, it's not being talked about that much. They're not making crazy videos before they even show the detector or anything. And then, the Simplex, I'm hearing great things about it. We're getting great reports. It looks absolutely killer. Like you said, how are they selling it for that with a double decoil? They're already talking about making
I
other
just
coils.
don't know.
And then the Vanquish, they pull it out at Detective All, and it looks like a copy of the Ace. And I don't know. I wasn't impressed on looks. Now, do I judge on looks? No, because that doesn't mean it's not a killer detector. But, one of the things, and we don't know, and maybe I'm hearing wrong. I talked to somebody that was at Detective All that talked to Mind Lab and stuff. On the box, I don't know if you've seen the picture of the box, but it says waterproof up to 3 feet. Then right next to it, it says rain cover included. Not dust cover, rain cover. And I thought, well, that's weird. Why would you need a rain cover on a detector that's waterproof? But then since when are they only waterproof to 3 foot? Well, somebody that was at Detective All said the coil's waterproof, and they're calling it waterproof because the coil's waterproof. Well, when's the last time a manufacturer made a coil that wasn't waterproof? It's been a number of years. I don't know anybody that's not making waterproof coils. And then, so it's not waterproof. It's that you can submerge it up to, that's not waterproof. And I think that's a horrible way to say it. Now, maybe, maybe that's incorrect. Maybe that was them working on a waterproof unit, decided they couldn't do it, and that's the box. I mean, they're still talking not coming out until 2020. But I think if they try to sell it on waterproof based on the coil being waterproof, I think that's really, I think that's wrong. You put on there waterproof coil, that's fine, but you're being misleading. I mean, when I think of waterproof, that you can submerge the head unit.
Yeah, I mean, when you say waterproof, naturally one would expect that you mean that the machine itself is waterproof. Now, if you said, obviously the coil's waterproof, then that's a whole different ball game. But I don't know. Sometimes manufacturers say a lot of things, and not so much what you say, but how you say it and word it, that make it sound a little more interesting. But once obviously we can't judge the machine because we haven't seen it, we haven't tested it, we don't know anything about it other than what's available. Now, but personally, I think, I think it's great they've come out with a lot of really nice machines at a lower price range, and I think that's great for a lot of people. We can get a lot more people into the hobby, and a lot of people having fun and finding great things, and not going out and having to sell their unborn child for a metal detector, basically. And but I would like to see if MineLab would take the speed of the Equinox and run, like, if they made like a E-Track 2 that was just that same machine, maybe to redistribute the weight balance a bit, but and made it much faster. If it just make that machine faster, that thing would be just downright evil in about anywhere, I would think. I don't know. That's what I'm waiting for one of these days. I want to see him make not even the 3030. Like, the 3030 is a nice machine, but the E-Track's just deadly on a lot of stuff. And if they could just make that thing process a little bit faster, I think that thing could be really ridiculous.
What was I going to respond to here? George Weems says, I don't see the Simplex being better than the Impact or Cruiser. I don't know. I don't see it either, but who knows? I mean, they're innovative and they're hungry, and they're putting a lot into this. There's a lot going into this detector, without a doubt. I mean, the fact that it shares the same style of coil as the Amphibio is really impressive. I don't know, Greg. I think all the companies are getting, well, not all, but some are getting really innovative. And if you look compared to what they were selling a few years ago at double the price compared to what they have now, I mean, depending on who you are, I've heard a lot of guys that ran the E-Track and CTX that like the Equinox better. That's almost, the Equinox is a third the price of the CTX. Am I going to say it's, but I haven't used one yet. Of course I'm not going to say that. But is there a possibility? Yeah. I mean, Dankowski is a pretty reputable guy. I hear good things about him and his reviews and him talking metal detectors. And he's comparing it to the I'm sorry, not the Cruiser, to the Impact right now. Yeah. And that's surprising to me, because I'm with you, Greg. I didn't think of anybody comparing it to one of their much more expensive detectors. Again, I love the Amphibio, especially that coil. But I'm with Matt. I'll tell you, this has been my experience with the Amphibio. I've had days I've gone out with it and it feels like it's an extension of my arm. It's some of the best days, some of the most impressed I've been with a detector, just hitting deep targets with iron near it, hitting it really good, giving me good VDI, good tone, hitting stuff in heavy trash or heavy iron. And then I go out the next time, same settings, everything else, and I want to wrap it around a tree. I can't explain that. And I know how to adjust detectors and work, I'm not saying I know the Amphibio inside and out, but I've used it enough. Okay, well, let me try changing this. Let me try changing that, and not really being able to find that happy place with it some days. And other days, it's just incredible. If it would work, if I knew it would work the whole time, like a day when it's incredible, it would be number one in my bag going back to Ohio when I go back. But right now, I don't even know if I want to take it because of that. And maybe there's something I haven't adjusted yet, or I don't fully understand that's caught, because I'm a pretty firm believer in that. You got to know how to adjust it and what to do. Maybe my way of thinking with it, I'm not getting it right, because, man, there's days I just kill with it. And then you go back out and you're like, oh, what's going on today? But
that's exactly, so there's it's one farm field that I spent a good amount of time using the Amphibio. And let's say one day I'd be out there and it was just like, man, super in sync with that machine, made sure, checked all my settings, what I was running. Then I'd go out the very next day, same exact farm field, same weather conditions, same everything, same settings. And and I just was like, I can't do it. I don't know what changed, but that's why I don't know. Like, when that thing is run, it seems like to me I don't know. Some days I click with that machine, and other days I can't do it. But I haven't figured out what's changing or what's causing that change.
Me neither. And I've tried
what
to adjust
setting
it
I need to adjust to make that. That's what I can't seem to quite figure out. But keep in mind, that's not my main machine that I'm using either. So, I don't have near as much time and field time or any time
I have a lot of
for that
hours
matter
on it. I have a
compared
lot of hours
to
on
other
it.
machines.
And at certain sites, it just doesn't. Now, I can't say I've gone back to the same site. But, like, for example,
I have. That's why
I went to a site.
Me.
I went to a site one day that there was a lot of deep iron. And I could hear all that iron, yet I could pick the good stuff out, no problem. A few days later, I went to a park. In this one particular area of the park, there's a lot of iron, deep iron too. And I was just digging iron, and this thing's sounding really good. It was just, I don't know. And every time I go to that park, I'm defeated, bad in that iron. But yet I go to other places and it works. I don't know. It's just, I'm not judging it, because maybe there is something I haven't.
I'm thinking it's just something that I need to adjust, or if something's obviously changed somewhere, and it's got to be a setting or something that I could adjust and get myself back in tune to what
the only thing that I haven't
really
played with is the ISAT, and
I don't. That's one thing I don't understand on that machine.
No, I don't fully understand it either, to be honest with you. I did read up on it, but then it got super hot, and I haven't been out in months, serious anyhow. So I don't know. It's.
But you ever go to a spot, Mike, and you ever go to a spot feeling like defeated when you get there already, and then you just know you're not gonna have a good hunt because
that's not a good way to go into it. No.
Okay, well, I do sometimes go to a place and I'm like, man, I'm just not feeling this place. And I feel like I hunt less effectively because of that. So I don't know. Not that that has anything to do with the amphibio, but I've been to places before where I just wasn't feeling like I would have much rather went to another spot, but I was outvoted and we ended up at such and such place. And, you know, I didn't really want to hunt that place. And then I end up actually hunting very poorly because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Well, I feel like it's just I'm missing something or something. I don't know. But it's been frustrating. I will say overall it works in most places. I've hunted in most, but I'll have those moments like that park. It just, man, I don't know. It loves all the iron in that park, and I'll go over there and just kill it on iron. But and I mean good, repeatable iron. It doesn't make sense. And then in the same kind of soil, just a few miles away, I've got a place that's real similar, and I can hear all the iron. I know I'm passing over it, but yeah.
I had the ORX out this past weekend.
Yeah, how'd you like it?
Yeah, look, I'm not saying I'll take that machine to a trashed out park by any means, but man, I really like that in a lot of field sites and in wooded areas, and there's a lot of places where that thing, I really like it. I don't know that I still have trouble, like, with some of the target IDs and some of the ranges. Like I can't tell you, as good of if it, like with the 30-30, I can tell you, what it's most likely going to be every time. But I can tell you that thing will pick out a good target amongst a pile of all kinds of iron in the ground, and it'll weed right through a lot of that. And it's just so super light, and it's quick, it's simple. There's not 10 million things you got to change or adjust on it. It's just I just like it. It's a good machine.
George said in chat that maybe Matt maybe Matt will be eaten by a great white shark testing the simplex. Yeah. I think
it
you
would
two
take an
need
awful big shark to eat me.
I think you two need to kiss and make up. Yeah, I think it's time you two kiss and make up. George, you weren't here last night, and George picked on me, and I didn't like that. Like, I thought we were buddies and stuff, so he decided to make fun of me, and I don't like that. He needs to keep making fun of you.
Well, that's all right.
So
I can laugh at anybody that says Big Penny.
Don't be making fun of my George. Don't you dare. Yeah, that's what they just say it different over there. I always just called a large cent. Everybody,
I hear large cent, large G, but a whole pile of things. But I had just never heard anybody call it a big penny before. That just sounded so hilarious. I thought when he first said that, I thought he was just joking around.
No. I think he kind of hates you a little bit for that. If I'm not mistaken.
Well, that's all right.
Since we're just not talking about anything tonight, if anybody would like to call in or anything, let me grab the number real quick, and if anybody wants to call in 682-459-2977. Again, the number is 682-459-2977. If you'd like to call in and help me explain to Matt how I'm a better detectorist than him, please feel free to do so. If you'd like to call and make fun of Matt, please call in.
I really hope for your sake that it's not a one-way catastrophic disaster for you when we end up going back out.
Come on, Matt. How can it be a catastrophic disaster?
Well, I've seen you detect before, so.
I want to say if there would be any manufacturers listening to us, which I'm sure there's not. Everybody's like, we ain't listen to that show with Mike and Matt. But if there is, somebody needs to make a purple metal detector so we can get Katie to shut up about it. I think every show it comes up at least 22 times that she needs a purple detector. Matt, you're real handy. Couldn't you make her detector purple for her?
Why doesn't she just? Oh man, you can get some purple hydro dip that detector, and then clear coat it, and that thing will be purple for the rest of its life. That's what I would do.
That is fun. Jeff, I love when these two are in the chat. Jeff said Katie should call in so everyone can see what I have to deal with. Oh goodness. Come on, George, give us a call. Call in and talk to us. You could talk about buttons. You could talk about what a jerk Matt is. We could make fun of Matt.
Yeah. That's fine. I'm down for that.
Yeah, you need to help her get. You two are close enough. That's your mission. Getting her a purple detector so she can stop. I bet then every show 22 times she would explain how much she loves her purple metal detector.
Where are they at again? I don't even remember.
They're like up by Cleveland somewhere.
Oh, really? That's right. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Oh, well, they need to hit me up, and we'll figure out how to make that metal detector purple.
There you go, Katie. I'm hooking you up. But then you can't talk about your purple detector 22 times. Yeah, every show she needs a purple detector. Come on, Jeff, get on that. Save the show. We get like, let's say on average there's 200 messages on the show. 52 of them will be Katie saying how somebody needs to make a purple detector, and I'm just saying.
You're just saying that, the girl needs a purple detector. I mean,
yeah,
I think that Jeff should get on that,
Obviously, her husband has dropped the ball here, is all I'm saying. So, I mean, I'm not trying to, throwing anybody under the bus, Jeff Yeary, or anything.
Come on over to the Casa of Matthew Hoffman, and we can make a purple metal detector.
Right. Matt is very, very crazy handy. He will find a way to not only do it, but make it look cool. For sure. Matt's like jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, sure. I agree.
Well, no.
I need to find master of one. They call that metal detecting.
Katie said she's on her way right now. Katie, I would give it to Jeff and be like, take care of this. Don't go meet Matt alone. He's a little bit scary looking. Them crazy eyes. He won't kill you, but he looks like he might kill you with those eyes. That's all I'm saying.
So I told my wife that one time, and she was like, "What? Like, really?"
Dude, you have intense eyes.
And I'm like, "Well, that's what Mike says."
Yeah,
and trust me, my wife's not usually on my side.
and then you posted that picture of yourself in all metal mode with your eyes like super intense, and you definitely look no, dude, your eyes are intense. You get really intense looks.
Maybe that's what I'm deep in thought.
Katie said if you make her a purple detector, she don't care what your eyes look like. Just take a pistol or two, some mace. You'll be fine. Just to be safe, take a zapper. If you got a zapping, maybe. Just to be safe. Yeah, whatever they're called. Yeah.
How about a stun gun, maybe?
Yeah. A
zapper. Hey, let's just get some big pennies while we're at it, too.
Oh, you're going to make George mad. You better watch it, mister. You don't want to get on George's bad side with big pennies. I'm going to start calling them big pennies. I like it.
So getting serious, Mike, is there any... What I need is, and I think would be really, useful for me. I'd like to find a coil cover, or coil covers plural, multiple different. I'd like some coil covers that'll fit my coils for when I'm dealing with the corn stubble, the cornstalk stubble.
Right, man.
Because with all the holes, it goes right up in between there, and then you're constantly getting stuck on it. Whereas I could cruise right over that if I had. Does anybody make those? I'm sure they do. I haven't been able to find anything.
I've never seen them for
if
the
someone's
open
making
coils.
those, man, I'd like to know.
Yeah, me too, man. I think that all the time with certain coils that are open. That's why I like the closed. George said, "Use your shower cap, Barbie." He called you Barbie. Yeah, Barbie. That's a good idea. Shower cap would right there. There you go. Brilliant idea, George. Thanks for that. And there's your learning for the night, Barbie. That's your new nickname.
I was thinking about taking my coil, buying some extra coil covers and using a real thin. I can't describe what the type of material is. I have these things in my garage, and what they were like a plastic sled that rolled up. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I was thinking about, cutting out a piece of that stuff and affixing it to the bottom of the coil cover.
Hey, Barbie, just use a shower cap. Simple and easy.
Yeah.
Simple and easy. Keep everything out. He already came up with it, Barbie.
I like valid ideas, not pie in the sky nonsense.
What are you talking? You will sit and spend. You will have 82 hours in making some plastic contraption that goes over one coil, or you could go buy a shower cap that'll fit on any coil.
Yeah, but that won't work.
That won't work for you because you'd like to make things way too complex, Barbie.
No, I tell you what the problem is. The problem is I'm part German, and when in doubt,
overcomplicate
if it ain't broken,
things?
you fix it anyhow. Yeah, that's exactly
things?
right.
I see shower curtain works, or shower, works great for me. Shower cap. I like simple and easy.
I like to overcomplicate things that don't need to be overcomplicated.
I can throw that in my pouch, and any coil it doesn't matter which coil, then I can just throw it on and field hunt with it. George is brilliant. I wish you were that brilliant.
I'm thinking like a carbon fiber coated.
Oh God, here we go. Overcomplicating.
Sweet, man. Yeah. Yeah. And it all goes back to one.
It all goes back to what?
Anything worth doing is worth overdoing. It's that simple.
Hey, I even found a Barbie shower cap for you. They make Barbie shower caps, Princess.
What makes you think I don't have 3 of those already?
Oh my goodness, I got to tell you something funny. I'm not going to say names. Not that we would know a name anyhow, not that they're listening or on the show. But somebody recently, I needed their email. And I said, "What's your email?" And they're like, "Don't judge me. I've had this for a while." And it was Princess something. So I've been having a lot of fun with that and calling them Princess a lot. Yeah. That reminds me of you, Barbie. Bill says he's made coil covers from cardboard before. Won't last long, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I like the shower cap idea.
Well, you're in Texas, so that man, I've been seeing a bunch of fields already starting to come down now. I'm just like, oh boy.
Yeah, I can't wait to get that. I can't wait to get. There's some really fluffy, cute little frilly shower caps I could get you on for your metal detector.
Yeah, you should do that.
Will you do one that's hot pink with
I might even
frilly stuff on it?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
we
man.
sport it.
I am a man of possibility.
Good
Not
deal.
probability, but possibility. That's what I believe in.
Huh. Yeah, there's some really cute feminine ones. I'll have to get you one of those. Greg said plexiglass, but yeah, you gotta find a way to attach it and stuff. I don't know. Because I've thought about plastic. I've thought about Tydex. I like the shower cap thing. Katie said, can't
Yeah,
believe you
I
made
think I got the perfect material.
What?
It's this roll-up sled thing that I have that has been in my garage for about 20 years now.
How you gonna attach it?
Well, what I'm thinking is two ways. I could either spot plastic weld it, or I could use some sort of Gorilla Glue or something on there. Because it's real thin, it's light, but it's super hardcore material, even though it's flexible. It's real abrasion resistant and everything else, so I think it would work really well. I just haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, Greg said you could zip tie it. I don't know. I mean, then if you want to take it off.
I could probably basically plastic weld it from the inside of the thing, or I could just use some Gorilla Glue on it. I think would hold it quite well. I don't know. I'd have to experiment with that, but see, I got to pick up some extra coil covers. So, I mean, obviously, I can't go ruining my coil covers if it don't work out. So, I got to pick up some extra ones first.
Greg said Kydex heat forms where it can be pressed on. That's an idea. George said try Gorilla Glue toothpaste. There you go. Jeff said, I'm guessing he's talking about going along with the whole me buying you a frilly little shower cap. He said fuzzy dice to hang off the control box. I'm with him.
Oh, yeah.
You need as much luck as you can get. So maybe the fuzzy dice would be luck for you. Maybe you could actually...
No, I spend my life guided by a force much greater than luck.
Really?
I call it skill, but that's all. Yeah.
When I was out metal detecting with you, I would call that luck.
Okay, so would I.
Well, that's all luck.
I would also call it luck that you just happened to randomly walk across a flying eagle to that, like shortly after that.
If that seated half dime hadn't been on top of the ground, you would have never found it with your 52-inch coil on your CTX.
Oh, no. I would have found it better if it would have been in the ground. I almost let it go because I'm like, I ain't taking a piece of pop can. I'm dead serious. If it would have been crazy, if it would have been like 2-3 inches in the ground, I'd have found it. I would have been more apt to digging that.
You're not getting through all that iron with.
Oh yeah, because at that point I had the small coil on. Well, not small coil, the standard coil.
Oh man.
Yep. I know you're jealous. It's all right though.
Oh, I'm not jealous. I'm just amazed at your thought process sometimes. I mean, that's why one of the reasons we're friends. Sometimes listening to what goes on in your head is calming.
Makes you feel better about yourself.
Yeah, it makes me feel better about myself.
I've had more than one person tell me that.
So I got to tell, I'm going to share a funny story. You can stress me out. Because it was like a competition, I think you were nervous. And Matt's hunting with a backpack. He's got pouches hanging off of him. He's got metal detectors hanging out of his backpack. He's changing coils. He's changing detectors. He's running back to the car for other detectors. And he was stressing me out. I go out and I'm all chill and just listening to my signals. And here goes Matt zooming by, running to the car to go grab another detector. There goes Matt again. He must need a different coil. And I'm out there with one detector, one coil, just whistling along. And I just thought it was funny. Well, then, hey, each their own. I'm just, I'm playing with you. But you went and hunted with Brian. And I was asking Brian how it went and stuff. And he's like, oh, my God, man. He kept running back to his car and changing out detectors, changing out coils. And I'm like, yep, that's Matt. That's Matt for you right there, buddy. Uh-huh.
That's what I like to do in spots I'm not familiar with, and sometimes, well, I was really flustered that day with Brian, because I just could not. I don't know why I could not let go of the fact that I could not get the damn Rudis to ground balance the way I wanted it to. And
Yeah.
I should have just been like, okay, it's still working. It's still picking up signals just fine. But I
Right.
could not let that go. And that just, oh man, it just ate me alive. And I spent a lot of time screwing around, switching then back between, which the 3030 just is not the machine for out there for by any means. It was not the right answer. And, but man, with that Rudis not doing what I wanted it to, which I should have just said, okay, it's fine. It still was ground balancing, just I was getting the warning
the exclamation
the exclamation.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I let that drive me nuts.
I have yet to ground balance the 2.0 and it come out and give me like the thumbs up or whatever it's supposed to do. I think it's a little bit of an issue, but the point is, even if you get an exclamation point or two, it runs stable, it runs good, it runs deep.
It still runs, yeah, I know.
It's just how it's set up.
That's what I couldn't let go.
Yeah, something's a little funky there on the 2.0. It is something that I'm not a huge fan of, but well, not that I'm a huge fan. It just took me a minute. It just took me a minute to, a little bit to realize, okay, it's never going to ground balance out and say good ground balance, but it's running stable, it's running deep. I'm good. Just go with it.
Now, I will say, when I hunt with you, man, see, that's the other thing is there's a lot of different machines that I like. I'd like to run the Impact. I'd like to run the ORX. I'd like to run the Rudis. I'd like to run the.
Well, let me tell you something. Really let me tell you about a buddy who does listen to me. And tell you his little.
You have outcome. Buddies? That's right. That's surprising.
I mean, a couple. I mean, we'll say buddy loosely. I mean, we'll use the term loosely here. My good
a known
friend,
acquaintance of yours.
Yeah. My good friend Donnie down in Southern Ohio. He'll call me. He's a good dude. He's not a jerk like you. He'll go out field hunting and he'll call me and put me in his pocket, and I get to hear what's going on and everything else. Well, he picked up a Tesoro Bandito 2 as part of a package. He bought a couple other detectors, and Donnie's fairly new. He's got he's had a couple different detectors, but what he's running right now, he's got my my C-Scope 6MXI. He's got the multi-cruiser. He's got an AT Pro, and he got the Tesoro late last year. Well, he couldn't figure out how to ground balance and stuff. So one day I went through it with him and we figured it out. Well, so he did take it to a park earlier over the summer and was pretty impressed with it. Now that's not my cup of tea using a Tesoro for a park site, but man, in the fields, I love them. But anyhow, he went out today field hunting a place that him and I pounded a couple years ago. He pounded it last year. He pounded it this spring, and he went out there, and I had to get off the phone. But he found several more buttons. He found, just a bunch of stuff. And that site has been just pounded. He's had a friend out there at least a few times. And he went in there with that Tesoro, and it picked out a lot more. That's an analog detector for you in that heavy iron, man. I'm telling you. I have yet to, I'm not saying it's not out there, but I have yet to find a digital detector that'll handle the iron and stuff like an analog. And he was loving it. And he goes, man, I'm pretty much walking through and it's quiet. I mean, I'll get a clip here and there and stuff, but all of a sudden I get a repeatable signal and it's another button. Or it's this or it's that. But, his very first time out with it, I mean, they're so simple to use. They get the job done in iron. I mean, that's my opinion on it. That's been my opinion, my experience. I'm surprised. I know George likes playing with all the different new technology and stuff, but I kind of wonder why he doesn't use analog. Maybe his experiences are different than mine. But it just gets the job done. And that's what I think I'm going to do. Go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, so when you come back up to Ohio, what's going to be your main weapon of choice for the fields?
My main weapon of choice, I've never used it yet, but I have what's the Tesoro, the Mojave. And my plan is that was like a $220 detector new, I think, $220, $230. My plan is I'm going to beat you in your $2,500 detector with my $220 detector.
Well, that probably won't happen because I'm probably going to use the ORX.
Well, that's fine. I'll beat the crap out of you in your ORX. I mean, I don't really care which. I just want to. I mean, for me, it'd be funner to beat you on your most expensive detector. But I'll take an ORX. That's cool. I'll take it down. Honestly, I haven't used it, but I suspect it'll do really good. It should. It's a 5-pin like my Outlaw that I absolutely love in the fields. It should do really good. I'm going to bring. I think what I'm going to bring is the Outlaw and the Outlaw and the. Hold on, what's somebody misquoted? I'm not sure what we're talking about here, but anyhow, the Outlaw, the Mojave, and probably the that one, and my Rudis. I've got multiple coils for the Rudis. I've got multiple coils for the Tesoros, and they shared coils. I've got a couple house sights and stuff for the Rudis. I want to play with the Rudis in the field. I want to see how it does, but I mean, probably most of the time I'll be using. I hope the Mojave. I mean, if it doesn't get the job done like the Outlaw, I'll switch to the Outlaw. But that's what I'll be using in the field most of the time.
You better bring yourself a pillow and a sleeping bag so you can take a nap while you're out there,
because I'll kick your butt so bad. It'll be like the football teams that have to put in second and third string. So I better go bring a lunch and a drink and go sit down so I can let you.
No. Actually, what I was getting at is because probably the only way you're going to beat me is if you're dreaming. So that way you can get a nap in or two and at least dream about having a better outing than me.
Yeah, I suspect I'll be sitting down under a nice tree watching you frantically run around trying to catch up, is how I predict it. I don't know.
It's unlikely.
I could be wrong, but it's highly doubtful. Doubtful.
I think we need to. We got to have like a more than. We need to have a more than one site showdown because maybe one site you do good. Well, that's probably not likely, but let's just say in the unlikely event that happens, we need to have like a showdown from 3 different locations, and we can determine that, well, Sir Matthew Hoffman is just either more lucky, more skilled, or more apt to finding cool stuff with a metal detector than Mike Haer.
Well, I mean, the truth is, really, it's you find the site. That's where everything goes. I mean, really, it's luck. I mean, it is.
Listen, I'm gonna say that a lot of metal detecting fields is yes, there's certain things you got to know and certain things you got to understand. You got to be in tune with your machine, but a lot of it's luck. If you walk over a signal that's just as clear as day, I mean, you're going to dig it.
Yeah, I mean, once I already taught you and gave you the tools on how to succeed in fields. I already, gave you my master works there. And no, it really is. We sit here and joke, but once you understand some of the basic stuff, I mean, we're just playing around. You could beat me. I could beat you.
See, you wrote the book. I corrected it. That's all.
You wrote the book and you read it and I taught you everything you know. I didn't teach you everything I know.
I forgot more than you ever knew, I tell you. No, all joking aside, I mean, there is a significant amount of luck factor to metal detecting at any given time. I mean, I could go over, especially when you're hunting like houses and stuff like that. If I take my buddy Tim, or if I'm out with another friend of mine, we're out detecting. I mean, literally, is there some signals that might get missed by anybody? Sure, but for the most part, if one of us goes over that signal, we're gonna
Right.
hear, we're gonna dig it. So It's just a matter of who walked over it first. But wait, I do remember you saying a couple weeks ago that you were going to just walk behind me the whole time and collect on anything I missed. So I'm pretty sure that it's a guaranteed win for me in this case.
Yeah, I'll walk. If you want to do that for a bit, I'll walk behind you with my $200 Tesoro, and we'll see. I'd like to actually do some comparisons. I'd like to. Yeah,
I would too.
Yeah, I'd like to do some comparisons.
I always say I'm going to do it, and then I just get out. I get out somewhere, and I just like, screw it. I'm detecting. I want to detect, but I would love to do that.
Like that day that we got together, and we, the whole competition and stuff. I mean, we hunted all day with not much to show for it. And then,
well, you had some nice round balls, and actually, Steph found a real nice round ball too.
Yeah, but we weren't hitting buttons or coins or anything like that.
No, we weren't finding any buttons or any of that type of stuff.
But you lucked. I mean, it was just you got your coil over a good target. I got my coil finally over.
It was pure luck. I happened to go over that, and I'll be honest, I was about 50-50 on just keep walking because it was sitting probably less than a quarter inch in the ground. And it was basically on top of it was just under some debris. And I thought for sure it was a piece of can slaw again because I was getting closer up towards the road. And I was going to walk, and I'm like, well, I might as well just kick the dirt over, see what's going on down here because, there hadn't been much really happening. And so, yeah, just pure luck in general. I mean, I just happened to come over the right spot at the right time.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, there's really not a lot of, there is some skill and you got to know what you're doing. But once you got that down, field hunting's really simple.
I will say with the Amphibio, the one day I pulled out this old presidential token, 1852, I want to say it was, presidential token. And it was every bit of it was at least 7 to 8 inches down, and it was amongst just killer amounts of iron. And that day, me and the Amphibio were just clicking, and I went over that, and I said, whoo, went over it again, turned a little bit, and I said, oh, man, there's something fancy down there for me. And yeah, for the most, now that's a spot that we'd walked over probably. Well, it was one of the main corn walkways or between the corn rows that I know that each of us had walked over that at least probably 5 times. I mean, but for some reason that machine that day, it just hit on that. Like I heard it down there and I'm like, oh man, it's something down there.
Huh. Yeah, no, we're just talking crap. I don't think we should I felt like it made you nervous last time. Go have fun. I hope you beat me, buddy. We both have the skills to field hunt and how to do it. And, I know you've hunted enough fields now. You can get on a line and just
Yeah.
hit tons of stuff on that line. I mean,
I
it's
will
just
say when I was out there that day, like I was trying frantically anything I could to see if I could produce better results. And I've hunted enough fields since then. I know what I'm looking for. I know I may switch once or maybe once throughout the day from like the ORX to maybe like the Impact or something, but I'm probably going to sit there and mostly just handle that ORX the whole time I'm out there.
I say you hunt a few hours, and then I put the Tesoro in your hands, and I bet you love it.
Well, I'd like to hunt for at least, I would like to hunt for at least a solid half hour. And if we're in a spot that's got buttons, I'd love to show you how ridiculous the 30-30 with the big coil and heavy duty iron can rip buttons out of the ground. I've got some settings I use for that, and it works phenomenal. And I've hands down beat my buddies up against the E-Track, up against Jesus, I can't think of the name. The Equinox, against Cruiser, and what else was being run out there? I think those are the only three machines. But and I was killing it, and everyone's in. The farmer that actually owns the property was like, he's like, I thought you said that you really shouldn't use a big coil on like this heavy.
You there?
Deadly on these flat buttons, and yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd like to test that out, but anyhow.
I can't believe George is going to bed and didn't call in. I sure wish George would have called in and given you a hard time. That'd have been fun. You there? Hello. Guess Matt got tired of talking to me and he's gone. Huh. Hey, Matt. No, I lost him. Why are you hanging up on me?
Oh, this is Farmer Bill just calling in. I heard you talking about metal detectors. No, I accidentally hit the mute button on my earpiece. I don't know how to unmute it though. I have never read the instructions. I'm going to make myself a metal detecting shirt that says, or not even metal detecting shirt. It's just going to say, if at first you don't succeed, try reading the instructions. Yeah.
You should make one that says Mike's a better detectorist.
Listen, I'll make up two shirts. One that says I'm a better detectorist, and then I'll make up one that says you're a better detectorist, and then one of us can proudly wear the shirt that once the verdict is in.
I'm not positive, but I think George just called you a big a-hole.
Yeah, he's right. I am.
Right.
I agree.
Right. That's hard to dispute.
Yeah, I mean,
man, I'm just
I didn't know it was up for debate, but
I wish George would get his ankle fixed and come to Ohio and teach us all something.
Yeah, I'd like to learn. He obviously knows a lot. I like learning from people that I'm confident have the answers.
Mm-hmm. I don't know that George would share his answers with you, though. Because you make fun about big pennies. I think he'd tell you to go, I think he'd use an expletive.
There's something funny about the learning process. I like finding things out the hard way sometimes myself.
Yeah,
actually,
you're real good about that. You're real good about that. I want to get, I don't know if they'll be able to come down when you can, but I'd like to get Katie and Jeff down with us, and maybe you guys can all catch a ride or something, or I thought maybe since you're both 3 hours away.
Well, if they drive south, they can meet up with me, and then I can drive further south the rest of the way.
I'd love to hunt you and George. Me and George clean the field out, go sit under a tree, drink whiskey, and throw rocks at you while you frantically run around trying to find stuff. I think that would be a good day.
you're living in fantasy land, Mr. Haer.
Right.
You got to come back to planet reality.
George isn't.
Yeah, George isn't gonna come detecting with us. Well, for me, for sure.
He's
but
like, I ain't going to text them yahoos. Yeah. Yeah, he don't want no part of that. I don't blame him, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get Katie and Jeff down, get them in into the shenanigans. That'd be fun.
Yeah, we should definitely. Yeah, see, it's much more fun when you got a bunch of people, and then you can make fun of everybody.
Katie said, I won't let them throw rocks at you, Matt. You're my only hope of a purple detector.
Well, at least I'm good for something, I guess.
Katie, he'll tell you for 6 years he's going to make your detector purple, and he'll never do it. You got to like tie him down and make him do it. Yeah.
That is true. It's because I just got so many things that I'm constantly doing every day that
you got more stuff going on in your head
on one project
than
10
average men.
You know how hard it is to live like this every day? My brain doesn't stop. It's taxing.
I don't know what I did the other day, but Steph was right there with me and she goes, "What is wrong with you?" And I said, "I'm on the phone with my mom. Do you want to talk to her? She'll tell you all about it." I don't know. Like, there's a list. Talk to my mom. She'll tell you what's wrong with me. Yeah. So, Steph.
And I want to say this once again, and I've said this before, but I hope people realize that 90% of the stuff I say that comes out of my mouth, as far as that anything about I'm a master detector or this, it's all nonsense. I'm not really a super big prick. Like, I mean, just so people understand that I'm not really full of myself like everybody would think if they don't actually know me.
I don't ever make fun of anybody or have, just with Matt, because we joke with each other. Yeah, I am still learning. I love learning from people. I love helping people. Matt and I are just joking. Neither one of us think we're all that.
Yeah, I mean, I really do take a lot of things that I really do try and listen to a lot of people to learn and better myself at stuff. No, I mean, Mike, there is a lot of things he said and told me, and I brushed it aside. But in general, I really do, take advice from people and not just, do my own
Matt,
thing. But
I'll be honest with you. Most people don't listen to me, so you're not the first, and I'm sure you're not the last. So don't feel bad about
people,
it.
I just feel like the stuff I say all the time, people, like, if they don't really know me, they don't realize that I'm joking about 90% of it. And like, I feel like people are going to be like, yeah, this guy really is a jerk. No,
we're not jerks. Like, Jeff and Katie, I would love to show them and get them, they're so new to it. They haven't found a whole lot of good stuff. They're learning and like Katie and I have had even a couple phone conversations. Like, she'll come up with some really good questions, and one or two. She'll come up with some really good questions and stuff, and she's like, don't make fun of me but they've been really good questions. And I'm like, look, I joke and I play, but this isn't something I'll make fun of you for. It's all fun and games, but not now. Now's not the time for me to pick on you. Ask away. Don't be embarrassed. I won't share. I wouldn't share if she said something, that's a little more commonly known amongst detectors. But she come up with really good questions, and and then seeing her learn a little bit, is really, really the reward for me. I do like helping people, and I wouldn't make fun of anybody. Jeff and Katie, if you get to come up when I'm home, I promise you I'm different. I'm giving Matt a hard time because that's what we do. If you guys come up, I'll probably keep my detector back and explain the site and how to hunt it and how I go about it, and walk with you both, and hopefully get to experience you two finding good finds. She said I can ask a dumb question but got some good answers. You didn't ask. I promise you didn't ask any dumb questions at all. the way you kind of were like worried about asking them, I thought, oh, she might have a couple dumb questions, but I mean, really nothing's dumb. I mean, I think I told Katie this. I remember when I started years ago, I might have had questions that sounded dumb. I'm sure for somebody that had a lot of experience, that doesn't mean it's a dumb question. It's just, it's not. And I love helping people new to the hobby. And I've had some questions that, that seem simple to me, but looking back at when I started, it's like, yeah, I remember struggling with that too. Yeah.
See,
so,
my wife will tell me all the time. She'll say, she's always telling me, she'll say, the stuff that you think is common, or that I think is common sense, she's like, is not necessarily common sense to 99% of the people out there.
Right. And
so, I got to keep myself in check sometimes. And I don't consider any question dumb, no matter what it is. If you have a question and you don't know the answer, the best way to find out is to ask. I mean, that's what I always do. I was that guy that sat in the front of the classroom, and if there's something that didn't make sense, I was the first person to raise my hand, because I didn't care if everybody else thought I was stupid or whatnot. If I didn't know the answer, I needed to find out, instead of just brushing past it and not knowing, going forward. So, I don't think any question's dumb, but I do, unfortunately, sometimes, at least with my wife, she says she reminds me sometimes that what I think is true, like what I would say is common sense, is not necessarily, but because of my background and in the stuff I've done and do in the past, like, to me it seems common sense, but to most people they're like, well, they wouldn't know that. So I keep myself in check a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say you probably know more about everything than anybody I've ever met. You just have a lot of knowledge in a lot of different areas, but you're good about that. I'm sure I've asked questions that, about different things, but when it comes to metal detecting, I don't know, there's really no dumb questions. I mean, it might be really simple to me, but it's just because of all my experience. But when I look back over the years and, I had the same questions, Jeff said that Katie asked, what's the round thing on the bottom of the detector? I mean, I don't think that's silly. I mean, it's a coil, and you could go into how it works, and it can expand your knowledge. I mean, I would say anybody new to the hobby, don't be afraid to ask. If you want to ask a question and you think it's silly or I'll make fun of you, I promise you I won't. Reach out to me. You can give me a call. You can email me. I'll answer any questions. I won't tell anybody who it was. And, if you still think it's a silly question, I won't say anything about it. I brought up Katie because she was so worried she had some really silly questions, and I could tell she was almost like a little embarrassed, but they weren't. None of them were, they were all good questions, and she learned from that. And that's all that matters. So, I wouldn't ever want anybody to feel like that, or because me and Matt joke around and give each other a hard time that we're going to make fun of you.
I've never put anybody down for asking me anything. Like, if it was, even if, I was like, well, if I thought to myself, why wouldn't you know that? But, they used to always say, I used to hear it growing up, the dumbest question is the one that's never asked. And, as stupid as that sounds, it really is, because if you don't know and you need an answer, the best way to find out is to ask. I mean, and so, yeah, I don't make fun of anybody but Mike generally.
Right.
Well, and the big pennies. The big pennies is just funny to me, but that's just
George,
funny.
George's going to come to Ohio and throw rocks at you while you're metal detecting.
I'm not making fun of George. I just think it's funny that they really called it big pennies, because when he first wrote that, I thought he was joking around. And then when I found out he was serious, I just started dying laughing.
Oh, I know. I like that term. I'll be honest with you. I'd never heard it either. I think it is a Southern Virginia, or a Southern thing and a Virginia thing, because I'd never heard it. I don't know how I've never heard that. because it is pretty popular way to say it, and I don't think it's bad. Yeah. But what was I? Don Scott lives in Indiana, and I feel like
Yes.
Don needs some help. He's not found much. He hasn't found a large scent. Don, buddy, if you ever need help, need advice, get a hold of me. We talk back and forth in chat and stuff. You can reach out to me, but man, what I would say is overlay and if you want a large scent, I'll tell you what, they're bringing down the corn now from everything I'm hearing here, bringing in the crops. Find you a house that's set in a field that's been gone 100 years, and you find 3 of those, and if you don't find a large scent, I would be shocked.
Yeah,
matter of fact,
agree.
I'd be shocked if you didn't find 3 or 4 large scents by then. That's where they're at. I'm telling you, they're in the fields. I hope when Jeff and Katie come back, we can get them some nice buttons, get them each a large scent. I want them to see, at the very least, what field hunting is about.
And Mike, I can only say this is exactly, you kept telling me about, I know we've talked about this a million times. You told me about it, and you told me, and other people told me. And my first few field sites I went to were just garbage. They just didn't produce. And I said, man, this is a joke. I'm going back to forget this field hunt. This is for the birds. That's not for me. I got better things to do with my time. But then that very first site, when I started hitting some good stuff, I'm like, okay, I need to rethink this, because clearly I just found things that I haven't found at any house site, park, property, anywhere.
Okay, hold on. How many large scents had you found before field hunting?
Well, now here's the odd thing. I've actually had found quite a few.
Okay, how many had you found over the years?
Probably like 38, 25, 30.
Okay, how many of you?
I found 30 some this year.
Yeah, that was over 10 years. Now, here's my experience.
Yeah.
I spent several years. I'm trying to think of how many. Several years, and I had 2 large scents. I can tell you where each one of them came from. I've got 2 large scents I found out of fields. I bet I found over 150, 200 large scents, and all the others except 2 came out of fields. Maybe 150 to 250.
I've literally I've dug about 30 this year. I think I'm up to around 30, somewhere in that range. I quit counting at like 27, but I found a few more since then. Right. And all of those, but like 2 or 3 of them came out of fields this year. Mm-hmm. So obviously there's a hell of a lot more large scents. Well, I don't want to say that there's more sitting in fields. What I want to say is that there's less modern trash obscuring and restricting or blocking a signal from something below it that's out in the field than there is at a house site, even if it's been gone for a while. There's still just a lot of modern trash is going to mask other signals that are there for sure. It has to be the case, because I don't doubt that they're there. I just doubt that you're going to find them.
Jeff asked if buttons are repeatable signals. Yeah, I mean, there's most of them are they copper or brass?
There's a lot of probably most of them are copper mixed, but copper and brass. I mean, you got copper in brass, so I mean it's really the same thing. You could have some pewter buttons. You could have a lot of different stuff.
And pewter is a mixture of lead and copper.
I don't even know what's all in pewter. I can't remember.
I know lead's part of it. Yeah, Jeff. The only buttons now you will at sites that when you're field hunting. I've come across bone buttons, but those are on top of the ground. You're not detecting those.
I mean, I've dug some real iffy ones before that have been buttons that were really borderline questionable. Should I dig or not? But when in doubt, well, you might as well dig them all out if you can, especially in a field, because you don't know.
They're usually good conductors, Jeff. They're usually copper, brass,
spot on.
Copper, brass, and pewter. Pewter are
and then the Tomback buttons, and they're all basically the same
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit different makeups, but they're all high conductive metals that should give you a relatively decent or very good signal in any case.
Katie said bone. Yeah, I've seen bone. Here's how you tell if it's a bone button. You'll see a bone button laying on top of, and it'll look not ceramic. What else did they make buttons out of? Oh yeah, ceramic or
probably. Well, I don't know about ceramic exactly, but probably you could have made buttons out of. I don't know. I've never found any that weren't made from metal, so I don't know.
Well, I was just talking about this with my buddy Donnie today. There was a site where I kept finding bone buttons, porcelain. That's what I wanted to say.
Porcelain.
Bone buttons will look a lot like porcelain, but when you go to pick up a bone button, they'll disintegrate. I've never had one I've been able to recover. And then it got me thinking today, I wonder if you could before you even touch it, while it's laying in the field, spray like a clear
hardener
coat
on it.
Yeah, clear coat or something, even, and save, because I'd love to save a bone button, but any I've ever found, I'm like, ooh, porcelain button, and I go to pick it up and it just disintegrates. I'm like, oh man, that was a bone button. Oh man.
Oh look, prehistoric forest. No, you know what's funny? What's funny is I'd say in all my years of detecting, I probably had only found maybe upwards of 10 to 20 flat buttons places.
Right.
And I found so many flat buttons between the end of last year and this year, especially this spring in the fields, that
now you will you'll find a lot of flat buttons. And they're not super. I still like them. A lot of people get tired of digging them.
I love flat buttons because a lot of times they're different and they'll have different stuff on. Well, you can identify them too. That's what I like about them is that 90% of them are identifiable.
You can date them for the most part, or at least get a time range. But also, you'll get the occasional one with a really fancy design, and they're really cool. I don't get tired. I found piles and piles of musket balls, and I got to say, I never get tired of finding them. That and buttons, even plain old flat buttons, are cool to me because you can date them, and you'll find them now and then with gilt on them. I love them when you find them with some gold gilt on them or silver gilt.
Speaking of musket balls, man, I hadn't that when we were out there hunting that day. I had still yet to find a nice looking round ball ever. Like I found some really garbage ones before, and it wasn't until I started hunting fields that, man, I've got a pile of really badass ones now. And I really like finding those too.
Something I wanted to talk to Katie and Jeff about, and anybody else new to field. Well, Don doesn't sound like he's hunted a lot of fields. One of the great things about fields are, there's several things. It's easy digging. You don't have to worry about tearing up the grass. Of course, fill your holes in, but it's not like you're in somebody's yard. But when you're on the right field site, I was looking at an 1857 map today, and I can guarantee I haven't verified, but I can almost guarantee all those were gone before modern electric and plumbing and aluminum. So you dig everything that repeats that's not iron. And I would say even, if you get fooled by iron or if you want to dig a little bit of iron, I would say somebody new, concentrate on the good repeatable signals that aren't iron. But some of the iron's good. I mean, I was talking to Donnie earlier and he found a wedge in a field that was really cool. We found horseshoes. I don't know. I still like finding horseshoes.
I found a few really cool, super old axe heads this year. Hatchet. Well, one was a hatchet, one was an axe head, one was two were axe heads. I found a really sweet. It was really rusted out and unfortunately pretty much destroyed, but still cool. It was a Civil War era bayonet. Found that. You find cool horseshoes, and the ORX is good at really picking up it. You get this weird, kind of in between kind of noise when you go over these bigger pieces of iron that are solid and probably something relatively cool. Now, I'm not talking just a square plate of iron. That'll throw you a different sound. But when you get a horseshoe or some of these more obscure pieces of iron, like it gives you this kind of, I don't know how to describe the tone it puts out, or at least what mine does, but I can tell you it's going to be iron, and I can tell you it's going to be something that's probably not just like a square plate or something like that. And I've dug some really cool iron pieces, which I've never dug with any other machine so much as, I mean, maybe a horseshoe here and there, but I pulled a lot of cool iron stuff out with that ORX this year.
Yeah. And fields, you will dig some iron. Deep, big iron is going to fool just about any detector. But if you're not digging, like you go to a park and you're wading through trash.
But it's so easy to dig.
And if you get into fields, you're going to learn a lot from that experience that will carry over into the trashy parks and schools and house sites. I would recommend anybody learning this hobby to start in fields. I mean, you can do it with a cheap detector. You don't need a $700,000, $800,000, $1,500 detector to do it. You can pick up, I mean, if somebody wanted to get in a hobby, I get so tired of seeing these posts on Facebook about, oh, I really want a detector, but I can't afford it. I mean, how bad do you want it? Because it's easy to obtain. I mean, this is one hobby that pays for itself. You can go buy a used Tesoro for $50, $100, keep your eyes open. You don't have to have a pinpointer. I mean, they're nice. Don't get me wrong. You don't have to have one, and you can pull a shovel out of your garden shed, and you're off.
Well, you sure can.
And that's what
Absolutely.
you need. And for less than $100, you can go out there and, like I say, analog for me works better in fields. So you go buy a used Tesoro. They've gone up in price because they went out of business, but you can still find good deals on them. But you get in there and you're just, now don't get me wrong. What I would suggest is do the research. First off, start off with sites that were close to the road.
Yes.
What were you going to say?
Overlay the easy ones. I said overlay the easy sites that are no-brainers to track down and find.
You don't want to walk, 300 yards into the field when you're still learning how to overlay and stuff. Look at the ones that are in corners, that kind of thing. Now, if it sits 40, 50 yards off the road, better, because then it's not picking up trash from the road. Because you'll find that when they're real close to the road.
Yeah, that's one thing that does suck with field hunting is that if you do get to sites that are really close to roads, apparently everybody and their brother finds it acceptable to just toss out aluminum pop cans, beer cans, and energy drink cans, and those things make their way right up into the first, 20 to 50 feet of a field, and God almighty, those are bad.
Go to Historic MapWorks, find the oldest map for your town, your county and township, overlay, then go out and find like the 1919 map. There's a lot of those for some reason, especially in the Midwest, and see if it was on there. If it was on there, put it on the back burner. I'm not saying don't go hunt it. Look for the ones that were gone. The site wasn't there on the 1909, 1919 map, whichever it is. Go out and understand there's going to be a lot of iron. That's your big dilemma. Now, if it's off the road 40, 50 yards and it was tore down before modern trash and stuff, unless the farmer dumped there or something, which is rare, you're going to dig everything that repeats that's not iron. And it's going to be, if it's trash, it's wadded up copper trash. It's wadded up brass. It's still good. It's still
brass and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's still worth digging. And you're not digging aluminum. You're not digging pull tabs.
Well, I think more importantly than that, Mike, is that you're going to find, or at least what I found was that I was able to dig a lot of those signals knowing, just by how the machine was reading, it's not going to be a coin. It's probably not a flat button, but it's something that's a high conductor. And I was able to dig it and find a lot of really cool stuff that I would never find at a house site that's still there, even if the house was from like a billion years ago, because there's so much modern trash there that you literally can't, You can't dig it all.
You can't work through
can't
it.
work it. You can't work it.
And I would say to Jeff, I hear the ORX is absolutely fantastic. And if Matt loves his, I've heard great things from other people. The 400 will get it done. Katie, you're good. Just disc out iron and well, I don't know. Maybe Bill. I don't know a 400 real well. Maybe Bill could help you on that in the chat. How he would set it up for a field. I don't know if he's played. I bet he's played with a 400. I've never played with a 400. I hear great things about it, but you guys will get it done, and you're going to go out, and I guarantee, if you go to 3 different sites. I can't promise the first one. I can't promise the second one because it's like anything else. Like Matt last year when or was it 2 years ago now?
It was 2 years ago.
When Matt started, he hit 3 sites that were no good. One of them he couldn't find. One of them it was too close to the house or something, wasn't it? I forget the circumstances.
Yeah, one ended up being too close to the house, and actually everything probably fell right in their yard. And then another one, turns out what had happened was where the map maker actually had that on the map, the house was about 100 yards actually due east of where it showed it on the map. And why it was that far off, I don't know. But what I did notice was that there was a lot of sandstone down in that field in pieces. So what I think they had done was actually quarried cut all the rock and stuff. They piled it all up in there, cut it all, and probably when that map maker made the map, what I suspect is he assumed that was going to be the site of the house, which turned out it was actually, I don't know why they did it so far down, but I did find I did go back and find that actual house that was on the next owner's property, and we did pulled a real out of there, pulled Indians. I pulled some other jewelry pieces and some other stuff like that. Some interesting, nothing super valuable, but some really cool pieces. And turns out it was the site I was looking for.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you go to a field site and it doesn't produce or something, or you're not able to find it, check your overlay and stuff like that. I mean, last time I was in Ohio, Matt and I had one field that was like, I measured it out, was about, no, I didn't measure that one out. It was a good half a mile square, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was big.
It was big. It was a huge field, and there were like 2 sites that we should have that were on the map. Everything else, and I came home and re-overlaid all that, Matt, and it keeps coming up to the same spot. I thought it should be there, and we were not able to find even a hint of it. So, things do happen, but I guarantee 3-4 sites, and you're going to have a large scent. You're going to have some really good buttons. And it's a great place to start. But it's a great place to keep going. I mean, there's been a lot of people I've turned on to field hunting that are like, yeah, I'll try it. And then that's become their main, they don't even want to go to parks and schools and stuff like that like they used to. I mean, they will in the summer.
I'll tell you, another thing that's really cool about field hunting is just walking the fields when you're detecting. I found some really cool arrowheads this past year. I found quite a few of them, actually. I ended up, all the ones I found, I ended up giving to the farmers, or the property owner, but at different places. But, yeah, you'll come across all kinds of other cool stuff that just may be sitting there, that I don't know. I love the fields now. I mean, I'll be honest, if I could strictly only hunt fields, and if I could not have to, in the summer, if there wasn't crops growing and stuff and I could just hunt fields, I'd never go back to another park or just old house that's still standing. I'd be out in the fields.
Yeah. But, I mean, when the crops are in and stuff, that's a great time to go door knock and hunt schools.
Well,
and
yeah,
parks.
and
because there's still good stuff in them, and it's still fun to do.
I found a lot of amazing stuff at schools and parks and houses and stuff. Don't get me wrong, because I've definitely found a lot of really cool stuff. But the amount of very interesting. Well, see, the other thing is people people say, oh, they find relics in the fields. And see, when someone tells me relics, that doesn't correlate in my brain to the cool stuff that I actually find.
Right.
You see, Mike would always say, oh, I find relics. All right, well, that's great, but I want to find cool stuff. And when you say relics, like, to me, that means nothing exciting, really.
Yeah.
But what I didn't realize also, is what he calls relics, which are relics, he should be saying really cool, badass things that are relics. I don't know. It should be just somehow stressing that there's like really cool stuff there, because I've got a whole pile of very cool stuff that, I mean, maybe some of it doesn't hold much value necessarily, but other pieces do. And some of the stuff I found is just really cool. And what I really like is anything I find that has writing on it that I can research, trace back and look it up, research it, and then find out something that I didn't know or learn something new. That's always exciting to me.
Yeah.
Mike, you there?
Oh, I'm sorry. I accidentally hit mute. I was
okay.
jockeying everything. What I was saying is Bill said he still prefers the woods, but fields are a very close second. And I was just saying, I don't know where I hit mute, but I love woods. Don't get me wrong, and they're really great. But where I'm from in the Dayton area, there's small patches, but there's nothing like coming across an old foundation in the woods or hitting that site, in the woods that doesn't have any modern trash and stuff. I'm with you, man. It is awesome. But what I found in my part of Ohio, like the Dayton area, is there's so few woods, and even if you do find a house site in the woods and stuff, it's usually the farmers have thrown all their brush. They throw brush in there. They throw rocks in there. They'll throw old metal roofing.
They've trashed the place out. Yeah,
it's trashed. It is trashed, and it is hard to hunt in there. I've had some success, but like if you're in an area that's mostly wooded, everything I'm saying carries right over to it. I mean, field hunting and woods hunting aren't much different. I mean, really, I mean, whether it's an old foundation deep in the woods that hasn't been molested, or a field site that's off the road, that was tore down, before modern aluminum and all that, they're both really good. Would I prefer to be in the woods and nature and stuff? Absolutely. I just don't, I don't find that a good source in the Dayton area where I'm from.
Yeah.
Now down in Lancaster area, you get down south and you've got more of that. You got some good woods hunting, and I was fortunate enough to get to do some of that, and I really liked it. But I gotta say, in the woods where I was at, I seemed to find more. It seems like the people were poor. At least the sites, and there wasn't a whole lot to offer. Where I don't know why, but it seems like in the fields, I found more.
It's funny you say that, because that's exactly the same judgment I would have at this current point in time. Is that I found some cool wood sites. We've hunted some cool spots, but I never seem to find any like super amazing. Like I find stuff, but not what I find in a wide open field site where a house would have been.
I think when you're around a lot of fields, there was obviously agriculture. They were crops and cattle and I'm trying to think. I didn't mean to say cattle, but livestock. And I think when you're deep in the woods and come across, unless there were roads coming through there and stuff, a lot of times they weren't making the money like the people farming. Is my guess. I guess it depends on what they did.
Yeah,
where the site is.
That's kind of my assumption of what's going on.
Yeah.
So.
Bill's talking a little bit different, I think. He's looking for the sites that predate the maps, the earliest settlers to the area and stuff.
Yeah, and that's a whole other story there.
Yeah, you get on a French fur trade, which you'll find in Ohio. Oh boy. Um, yeah, they're good. Yeah, daffodils and herbs, look for those in the woods. And I would say, you know, Bill and I wouldn't say we disagree. We go about it a little bit different. There's nothing wrong with taking a nice nature walk and looking. But like when I go to a field site, what I do is I'm going there because it was on this map. Now, why I have permission for that property, I am searching high and low for any sites that would have predated the maps. Where Bill will just go out and walk, he'll go walk, high spots along creeks and different things, and I know he walks in the woods. And there's nothing wrong with that, but if you're new and you don't know what you're looking for and searching for, you might want to stick to, even in the woods, like knowing you're going somewhere. And if it's out far enough in the woods, you might come across other signs of other places, other foundations, other walls and stuff. They seem to be a lot less tore down. Usually you can still oftentimes find foundations in the woods and stuff.
Yeah, I find one thing with the wooded areas, properties that I have seen or have been to, we find these the old foundations and stuff. But what it seems like is the farmers tend to take a lot of, over the years, they've taken a lot of junk and debris, and they've thrown it and filled up a lot of these cellar holes and stuff like that still are out there. And I don't know if that's common in other areas or at least around the areas that I've been in. That seems to be a reoccurring theme to everyone that I come across.
Yeah, but Bill's down in southern Ohio. I mean, it's probably more, I would guess where he's at, or at least a little bit.
See, they probably got a lot. Yeah, they probably got a lot better spots down there as far as stuff that falls in the
Dayton,
woods.
Yeah, the Dayton area north and around Dayton. I mean, it's thousands of acres of field with maybe 5-10 acre little woods or 1 acre woods. It's farmland as far as you can see for the most part. So they tend to take their trash and dump it in. I mean, I've been in the woods and like overlaying. Okay, there was one in these woods. There was a house site, and you go there, and I can't get within 50. I can't metal detect within 30, 50 yards of it. And not saying I don't find anything good or I haven't pulled some good stuff out around, but sometimes you're going to find your better stuff is closer than 50 yards.
Yeah, I agree.
Greg said, "Look for the mushrooms in the fields too." Yeah, that's just what I want is some field mushrooms that have been sprayed and all them chemicals and.
Speaking of, well, not mushrooms necessarily, but one thing that I think can help out, like if you are looking for a spot in the woods, especially an old house site or something, man, if you just keep your eyes peeled for like daylilies or different types of flowers that are perennials that come back every year, because those things live for, well, an ungodly amount of years, and they'll keep coming back, and that can be a dead giveaway as to where stuff was actually at or going on when you come across that type of stuff. Which, I mean, most people would probably say, yeah, that's probably common sense, but it's one thing that someone might not think about that. And I've found some spots, and I've seen some spots that as soon as you find that, you're like, you start getting into the stuff, and it's a no-brainer that obviously, that was probably planted outside the house somewhere, and it just makes it an easier way to scout things out.
Yeah. I remember years ago, Tim and I were along the river up by him, and we were pretty far out, man, and we were looking for a site and just had a rough idea and come across, I think it was daffodils, if I remember right. And it's like, oh, these aren't, and that site was a couple 100 years old. It was really old. And, So yeah.
Yeah, if you just look for things that are out of place, I mean, or like maybe you see, maybe there's just some random rocks like sitting somewhere in the middle of the woods, and you're going, well, clearly those didn't get there on their own. Well, it depends on how many random rocks and hills and mountains and stuff you have around you. So maybe you wouldn't be able to notice that. But in my area at least, you'll come across stone and stuff sometimes, and you're like, well, I know that that's not naturally just sitting here. It was obviously brought there at some point.
Sorry, hold on, I got to sneeze. Oh, excuse me, guys, I was sneezing again. Um, Don
Bless you.
said, "Do you ever just blind hunt fields? I'm working on permission for some at the point of the Ohio and Wabash River busy place years ago." Okay, yes and no. Have I ever hunted a field that I couldn't find anything on a map? Yes, but why? I think you got to answer that question. I recommend going out in the middle of nowhere and just, I'm going to hunt this field and I'm going to start gridding it off. No, no. What I mean is I'm driving along and I see a nice high spot and something looks inviting to me. I'm along a creek and, and this field butts up to a creek or river and there's high spots along it where they could have built. I mean, so that's kind of a tough question. Yeah, I will, but will I just randomly walk a field? I mean, if there's a low area where water sits most of the year, I'm going to stay away from that. Most likely there was never a house there. If the same field has a nice high spot along a creek, heck yeah, I'm going to walk to it and do it. I mean, you gotta, when you're talking,
You got to do your research. I mean, it's just that
when you're talking
that's
hundreds of acres or thousands of acres, if you're going to go walk randomly, have signs that something could have been there to make it worth your time. Don't go hunt a valley area right along a creek or that's often got water in it because most likely nobody ever built there. Um, you know, uh, a field with no water sources near it and it's pretty low. No, I would stay away from that. Now, here's the thing, that's not always true. I was just doing some research the other day and I know where this old town is, and it got wiped out during the 1913 flood. So obviously, they built on low ground. Well, through an older map I found, there were houses on the other side of the river as well. There were like three of them. And, that's low land. That is often why they ever built there. I'm just saying, if you're going through hundreds or thousands of acres, personally, I would stay out of the low stuff and I would look for high ground. For the most part, even early settlers knew this. Now, some of them obviously didn't, and you got to question what were they doing. I've not found it yet. It's something I hope to work on more when I come back to Ohio. I know where a town was for a handful of years, one of the earliest. Well, it was the earliest in the area, and it went away because they built too close to the river, and there was flooding, and so that doesn't always hold true. But man, if I'm going to go look at hundreds or thousands of acres, I'm sure I'll miss something, or maybe I've missed something, but I'm going to concentrate on the high ground. I'm going to concentrate on the places that make sense.
Well, and that being said, obviously, back in the day, what's one of the most important things that you have to have? You have to have access to water, but you can't be in a low spot. So when you got like abnormally high or just high spots in a field, and you have a water source, at least do your research, because odds are if there was something there, it was going to be built in the high spot. I mean, I guess there's no doubt that people. Well, I can't think of the crap. I can't. Sandyville, where you hunted there with Tim. Obviously, that whole town had to go because it flooded. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and they moved that whole town. But once again, normally you wouldn't build spots that would flood, but that's a special case because that really ends up flooding, I believe, from when they changed a dam around was what caused the flooding for there. But
Yeah.
but you know, but forget it.
Well,
If nothing else,
Matt, that's another good point. Know what has happened in the area and why. Why. If you are going to be hunting along the river, think about dams and things like
yeah.
that, and things that would have affected them, why they moved or why they would have built there, 200 years ago, and now there's a dam and it's no longer.
Oh yeah, and you can find a lot of sites that well hell, there's a lot of reservoirs and a lot of lakes and stuff that were created where you go back to the old school maps, there was houses all through there, and they ended up either damming it up or it was a low spot to start with, or they had other water issues and eventually turned it into a lake or something like that. But you get a lot of spots, but the most importantly is that back in the day you had to have access to water, so it's typically why you see so much stuff built within reason to creeks and stuff, water sources like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes no brainers in a lot of them when you start seeing it. And I know Mike used to tell me, just drive around sometime and look for a high spot in the field, or maybe it's close to a creek, but there's this high spot, or maybe you'll see what was an old probably path to drive through the field or something. And it's amazing once I really started looking for that stuff.
How some of it jumps out at you.
Yeah, it just jumps out. I just saw a shooting star. But anyhow, yeah, it's amazing how it just. Yeah, it just it's probably aliens.
Probably aliens. Yeah. So yeah, and I'll tell you something that I will hunt. I don't care if I can't find any house near it or anything. If I come across it on a map, if I can get permission, I will always go hunt it. If you see SP or SPR for spring, even if it somehow never had a house on it, somebody probably camped there. Who knows? They are, man, it's hard to not find a spring and not find good stuff. Military expeditions and stuff. I mean, it was always, I know of two in Ohio, Matt Anthony Wayne, that I know he camped out there, and it's because there were springs. Water was really important, and you got to think too, they didn't turn on the TV and look at the weather. And if it's a winter camp or they're going to be there for weeks or months, they couldn't camp too close to creeks. They can you imagine even just getting 1,000 men to move, from their place? They want high ground. I know where a camp was in Ohio. It was military long before Civil War, and it's high ground, and on top of that high ground is springs. Well, think about it. You need water for your men, for your your horses, and even cattle they brought along, even livestock, and it's high ground, so they had a good advantage, and there's a spring. So I don't think I don't know that anything's ever been built there. It's not somewhere I've gotten permission yet, but I can guarantee you, I mean, that's why I don't even know that that's where they camped. I know they camped in the general vicinity, and I found the highest spot in the area with three springs. I would put money on it right now that is where they camped. It just makes sense. So if you can read the land, look at topographic maps. I guarantee Bill uses those a lot.
This year that there was mention of an encampment in the area on the map, on the old 1870s map. And when I actually went out and talked to the guy that owned the property, it turns out that there was a spring out there in a cave and whatnot, and there was actually, he had some documented something that was it was a picture or something he had that came from in that cave like years and years ago that Anthony Wayne and his guys had actually camped there.
Was there a spring nearby?
Yep.
Yeah. Matt Anthony
sir.
Wayne. Matt Anthony Wayne loved springs. I do believe that. You look in areas that are known, and there were springs. You know, and it makes sense. He was, you got men. What are you doing, man?
Sorry, I had my headset unit just died, and I had to switch it out.
Oh, it sounded like you were wrestling with a gremlin or something. I wasn't sure. I was
No, my
safety.
headset died, and the headset died. I had to switch it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Bill's talking about wow, he's talking about Sandyville. I knew you brought up Sandyville, and I'm like, oh man, you shouldn't say that because people, I know Bill still hunts or used to hunt it, but he said they had some drama out there. The town moved. Yeah, research an awesome site. Finds predate the town by 100+ years. Bill, I think it was a really, really early settlement. Man, there was some early stuff coming out of there. But that's up by where Matt lives and stuff. He said, if you need help, I'm in possession of the entire town history books, including a 1930s aerial photo. How cool is that? I've seen the aerial photos. I've seen quite a bit on it. Tim's got quite a bit, but you guys just went out there, didn't you?
Well, we didn't hunt where we wanted to. We hunted across from where we were. We did. The farmer wasn't around. We didn't get a chance to go talk to him. He wasn't home, but we did hunt across in another area that the state, part of the state owns it, but nevertheless, we did find some stuff over there still. It's super trashy from being flooded out for years.
Do me a favor, if you get back up there, go in the cemetery, and there's there is a young girl buried in there, and her name was something out of a Disney movie. Seriously.
Cinderella?
I think it was
Beauty,
Cinderella. I think it was Cinderella. Have you seen that?
No.
Dude, there's a headstone in there of a little girl. Her name was Cinderella.
That's funny.
I took pictures years ago, and I that computer crashed, and I didn't have an external hard drive then. But I ever thought if I get back up there, I'd like to go in there and take more pictures of her headstone.
Huh.
Bill's saying the farmer is where the drama is. Let's get you proper permission. I don't know who Tim has. I know.
No, the drama. Tim's told me a long-winded story about 17 times. I don't know if he doesn't remember that he told me this so many times, or he just likes telling the story. So I'm not sure. But in either case, I don't have time to get into it. I don't think that's where the drama's at with him, or with. I don't think it's really with the farmer. In fact, Tim says that he's made good with the farmer in the past, and would be no reason why he wouldn't let us back in. But unless something's changed that I don't know about and Tim doesn't know about, but I've
been with Tim when he's talked to the farmer and stuff, and the farmer was super nice, and that was over a couple years. I went there a couple different times in a couple years, and Tim had a real good relationship with the farmer. I don't know, but there's definitely some stuff going on up there. Katie, if you get a chance, if you want a road trip, you can walk in the woods. I'd get permission, but I'm trying to think, when you cross the bridge, are you heading north?
You're headed in, I believe that would be north.
When you cross the river and you're heading north, the cemetery's up on your left, but the town was on your right and left, and it was in both fields on the left and right, and then on the left side leading to the cemetery, there's some old foundations in there, but yeah, the cemetery's really cool, and if you and Jeff just ever want a road trip, go check out Cinderella. I'm almost positive it's Cinderella.
Yeah, I haven't seen that myself, but I didn't go looking for it either.
Steve said, do you guys use acrevalue.com to find out who owns land? No, I've never heard of that, Steve.
No, but
I always go to
speaking of that auditor site is obviously, if your local county's auditor site, or any county for that matter that you're looking for, is probably the best. However, there's an app called what is it?
It's a hunting app.
Something. Yeah, it's a hunting app, and it's about for a specific state. It's about $30 a year, I want to say, or 20 some bucks a year. It's like 100 something. It's 100 something. Some ginormous animal just flew over top of my head, and I don't know what the hell that was.
Huh.
I'm gonna go in my house now because I really don't know what that was, but it was big. Anyhow, there's a hunting app, and it's really good.
Hold on.
What? No, man.
On X. Jeff said on X. Yeah.
Yeah, on X. Yes. That is really good, and what's nice is, like, if you have a county that the auditor site really is garbage or doesn't have much information, or maybe they don't even have any parcel information or anything actually listed or on it that you can easily access. That's a really good app. I don't use it myself because most of the counties around me have decent, if not really good, access through the GIS, the auditor site. And so I don't necessarily need it, but it is nice because if you're out somewhere, you can just pull that up immediately and you can check out all kinds of stuff like super easily. And, most people don't want to pay that kind of money for something if they're not going to use it like consistently. Another thing I want to mention, and I don't know if this holds true for anybody else, and Tim actually turned me on to this, and that's how I know this, at least. Okay, so my local library, and if I went to the Massillon Public Library where I live and got a library membership, which is free, they actually pay for subscriptions to like newspaper.com and a lot of those sites that have old newspaper articles archived for like 1 billion years back, all the way in 1800s and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of so because they pay for that as a having a membership to the library, I can go on there and get access to about all those different apps and different programs that normally would cost me a lot of money. I can get it for free. And so that's something cool that I never knew you could do that until Tim told me, and I was absolutely stunned and shocked that that was true. And so that's always a good, like, especially depending on what you're looking for, if you're researching a place, you can go in and search under keywords and stuff for things you're looking for. And you can really find a lot of interesting information that's available in a lot of those old newspaper articles.
Yeah. Another thing is if you don't want to get into overlaying maps and don't have time or whatever, two programs or two apps that go hand in hand is OnX. I know that one, and Maprika. Maprika is a skiing app, but it works great for old map overlay. And what you can do, first off, there's a lot of maps available, and you can use those, but you can also take pictures of maps or get maps from other sources, download them, and then right on your phone, you can like, let's say you've got an old map, and you can even do it on your phone. You can overlay it, and you pick points of interest, and the more you have, the more accurate the map becomes. And then, like, when you're driving down the road, you can actually see where the old house sat. And then you can pull up on X, see where the landowner lives and stuff. And a lot of people do that too. I just really haven't gotten into that. I'm old school, I know. I do old school overlaying, but I do plan on using that some this fall. I want to try it out, but yeah.
Well, it definitely would come in handy. You know, Tim and I, we seem to go on a lot of these wild adventures. And what happens a lot of times is there's no way to get a hold of the person shy of showing up and knocking on their door and talking to them, which, you know, I enjoy doing myself because it's nice to get a personal relationship established. And happens a lot of the times is that there's just no one home. And then, you know, you line up only so many places, and then next thing you know, you drove, you know, 45 minutes or an hour or something, and you've exhausted all the possibilities you had. Where, you know, if you use some of those other options and mapping software and stuff, there's a lot of other things that you can find out just kind of on the fly, and, you know, maybe turn what would have been an otherwise wasted or you know, not maybe wasted trip, but a trip that wasn't going to turn out that good just based on the results of maybe you could turn that into something really sweet and find something else that you missed or didn't know about, kind of on the go.
Exactly. I know of people who run both apps and will just go out on an adventure and, like, okay, well, there was an old house back here. You know, they pull up on X, go find out who owns it, go get permission, and they're gone, and they got a site. And that's why I want to do it. That's why I want to use it, because, you know, when I'm in the area and stuff, and if I can find out who owns it and stuff, I can just run out there and knock on a door while I'm right there, and you know, if I have time. Yeah. Man, I am getting tired, Matt. You about ready to wrap it?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. My son he came down from his bedroom, came outside and said, "Hey, man, what are you doing? You going to come in the house anytime?" Or you're like, "What's going on?"
Real
I'm like,
quick,
"Well, you're supposed to be in bed anyhow. What's it matter?"
Steve made a really good point. This is one other thing I want to say. I used to keep, when I lived in Ohio, I kept binoculars in my truck, and if I seen something that caught my eye in a field and I could get pulled over, I'd look with my binoculars, and I couldn't tell you how many times I found a site by seeing glass. You know, glass, you get sunlight, you know, shining on it, and that glass will stick out. And he says, I have to use those sites because very few decent maps of my area. I just find old land and look for glass early in the morning. And that's, I mean, Steve, and then he says, LOL, but that's a brilliant way to find sites. I couldn't tell you how many I've, you know, found by looking through binoculars and being like, oh, I think I see orange, you know, brick. You're going to find some brick, but then it's always that, you know, sometimes it's not though, but you find that glint of glass, and man, it's on.
Hell, even if you don't find glass, if you're out there early in the morning, odds are you might even catch sight of an arrowhead or two sitting out in the field. Those things.
I'm talking about just looking out into fields, though.
Oh, I thought you meant with binoculars.
Well, yeah, from the road, like I would pull over with binoculars.
If you see glass or something shine, you'll see them arrowheads shining from I can see them shining from like a billion miles away. Get down, crouch just right, and you can. Well, in the morning time.
Bill said binoculars, multi-tool. In the country, look for glass. In the city, look at pretty women. Mike's a creeper. Yeah, so what, Bill? Why are you judging me? You know you like the idea. Now you're thinking about going buying a set of good binoculars, peeking binoculars.
Wait, you said that wrong. Weren't you looking at pretty men?
Either way, I mean, pretty's the
That's the only part. You take away. Yeah, to take away the end part. If it's pretty, right?
Right. If it's pretty, it's pretty. Let it go, Matt. Let it go.
Hey.
Good times. All right, let's wrap it up. It's been 2 hours and 15 minutes. I need shower. I need go see my crazy family and stuff. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the ramblings of Mike and Matt, and we will be on next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.